Thank you very much. We were talking about words, a little back and forth on words. Let me just note, sometimes it is discouraging to hear people use certain words or the inability of certain people to use words at a time when radical Islamic terrorism threatens to murder tens of thousands, if not more, Americans. It is quite disconcerting that our own president can't use the term radical Islamic terrorism. And that needs to be looked at closely. In terms of the Saudis, I will have to suggest that, Ms. House, that I like your optimism, but there's a thing called irrational optimism. And that's when someone gets beaten in the head a number of times and think they can do the same exact thing without getting beat in the head. The Saudis have been financing terrorism now for 20 years at least. At least. I mean, the Saudis were behind the Taliban. The Saudis financed Pakistan, and they still do, and the Taliban were financed by that money. Just, 2 days ago, there was a drone attack where we took out the new leader of the Taliban, and where was he? He was in Pakistan. And who do you think is paying his bills in Pakistan? The Pakistanis, they're broke. They get their money from Saudi Arabia. So the Saudis have been financing this mayhem. I mean, it's not just the fact that 15 of 19 of the terrorists that murdered 3,000 Americans on 9/11 that they were Saudis, but it's what the government has actually done. And let me ask, how many of you there believe that the royal family of Saudi Arabia did not know and was unaware that there was a terrorist plot being implemented that would result in an historic terrorist attack in the United States in the lead up to 9/11? Do you believe that the Saudi royal family did not know? Raise your hand if you think that. Oh, okay. Let me just suggest this, that, okay, we have 2 and 2, I think. So you guys believe that the Saudi royal family may well have known there was a major terrorist attack coming. Go right ahead.
Congressman, you and I go way back from our time together when I served up here. That is just too difficult of a question for somebody to raise their hand or put their hand down to.
Well, it's not for me. I'll raise my hand right here. And let me tell you something.
Have you read the 28 pages?
Within 4 months before 9/11, I was tipped off by a very high-ranking Taliban who happened to work with me in Afghanistan when we were fighting the Soviets, that there was going to be, there's a plot going on, and what do you think about this ongoing plot? And I might say the Warren Commission didn't seem to, when I sent that information over that I'd been tipped off, they did not follow through on it. I wonder why. So what we have here is a high-level ranking member of the Taliban knows about this, but we don't think that the high-ranking people in the Saudi Arabia who are financing the whole thing didn't know about it. This is clear that the Saudis have been intentionally involved in the mass slaughter of Americans and other people in the world in a terrorist way. We know that they are, number one, we know that they are currently financing madrasa schools. And they teach, what do they teach these kids at school? When they come out of them, they can be radical Islamic terrorists, or they can't do anything else in the modern economy. They finance mosques that are preaching the worst kind of hatred, and we're hearing about this all the time in the Balkans, where they're financing the worst kind of, and we have, of course, the direct finance of terrorism that we have seen directly into Saudi Arabia. Now, we're being told that by you today that we really don't know if the Saudi royal family is involved in this. Well, even if they are aware of this, they are responsible. After 9/11, they didn't want to kill 3,000 Americans on 9/11. They wanted to kill 50,000 Americans on 9/11. 50,000. That's what they thought. When those buildings were going to come down, they didn't know that we could get all the people out. They were there for a mass slaughter of Americans. And we have just managed to just sort of, well, let's give them the benefit of the doubt, whether or not the royal family knew about this or not. I say that the Saudi royal family has made itself clear that they do not deserve the benefit of the doubt because of all of their actions they've been involved in. And whether or not the young Saudi royal family members that are watching TV now are going to have an epiphany that the Wahhabism isn't really, doesn't demand them to go out and attack the West, whether or not that's going to happen or not, I don't think we can rely on that, especially when you find that all of these young Islamic terrorists are springing up in different parts of the world, including in San Bernardino, including at the Boston Marathon. You have these people who have been exposed to Western society, but they've also been treated to a very high dose of Wahhabi radical Islamic philosophy that leads them to commit these terrorist acts. It's either we're going to face reality or there's going to be more and more of our people slaughtered. And I think how we deal with Saudi Arabia, it's either got to be realistic or our people are going to suffer the consequences. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.